Welcome, crypto enthusiasts, conscious investors, empaths, and energetically sensitives from all over the world. Welcome back to our Crypto Energy weekly update here on collective energies and how they affect the financial or the crypto markets in particular. My name is Bryndis, and I'm an energy coach and energy trainer here at transCODES, along with a fantastic team of trans coaches, as we call them. Main objective of this weekly crypto spiritual update is to give you a brief overview, like a different perspective on the cryptocurrency market, what it means for our society, for our collective as a whole, and also, and this is growing in popularity, I'm very thankful for all you guys' positive feedback and suggestions, the crypto integrity rating. So one of the biggest projects that we have going on here at transCODES is the rating of crypto related companies, people, and so forth, tokens, obviously, exchanges, wallets, based on their energy level, based on their consciousness level. And this gives us information about the integrity level of these companies or these entities involved. Is this woo-woo? No, it's not. We're using muscle testing and a scale developed by Dr. David Hawkins that allows us to actually measure, whether a company, a contract, or a person is based on or aligned to truth or not. So this is highly experimental, obviously, and not meant to be an investment advice, simply because we cannot tell if the integrity level of a company is playing out in that way that it's always sort of the most integrous that wins the race. I've been in the IT field long enough to know that it's not always the most integrous, and it is not always the best technology that becomes most successful. However, due to the overall higher vibratory rate of the crypto market and the crypto spirit that's behind it, we are seeing a new dynamic here. Okay, so there is something that's called resonance, and when energies begin to harmonically work together, okay, then there is a better outcome. And since our entire society is in the process of a transformation and an awakening process, it is to be expected that this higher vibratory rate of the crypto market, albeit only tiny, really, we've calibrated the crypto market in comparison with traditional markets, and let me pull this up here for you. It was a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you, because it's not as high as we'd hoped, but mostly because of all these changing market dynamics that we have been seeing. So the crypto market a few years back, when nobody was talking about cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, was much higher in consciousness level. So there's an adaptation that is taking place, and you can see here that the crypto market with a number, okay, I will explain the scale for you in a little bit, is only slightly higher than the traditional banking and fiat system. It is higher though, and therefore it can be expected that we are going to see a better environment, a better resonance for companies that come in with higher levels of integrity than we have seen in our economies here in the past, like say 100 years. I've just finished the collective energy update for empaths, and I want to share this with you because this coming week here is actually very interesting. So I called the week here till the 6th of September shift change. And if you look at the two barometers that I use sort of as an arbitrary way of measuring the intensity levels of the sentiment in our collective, you'll see that we have a relatively high intensity level here that can play out personally in a way that it, you know, may challenge us, you know, to stay focused, to stay balanced. In context with the crypto markets, though, it actually shows an interesting, a positive and interesting, optimistic sort of outlook on the next week. So I just wanted to share this with you real quick here, how collective energies and the sentiment that is measured here by us, how this can play out differently. So what we are looking at here for the next week is actually a rather positive sentiment, a positive climate. But there needs to be a disclaimer, obviously, because we've seen this here in the last, well, pretty much since the beginning of the year, that we have these ups and downs and ups and downs, and, you know, a lot of positive news coming in, and yet this is not reflecting in the price, at least not in a stable way. And so these last 2 months, you know, the prices and the market capitalization in the crypto market have been hovering, you know, in a certain bracket here, you know, between the low 6,000s and, you know, the mid 7,000s. We have, however, and this is not reflected in like, say, the Bitcoin. This was the Bitcoin price that I was referring to. That is not reflected in Bitcoin price, and that is an increase, you know, of roughly 10% in market capitalization. And here is one of the issues that comes in for us in general here observing the crypto sphere. Okay, so those of you who have been there last year around this time, you know, for the first time discovering Bitcoin and seeing it rise and rise and rise like there was no tomorrow, you know, you'll be disappointed here from 2018 on, simply because the composition of the money that flows into the crypto market has changed. And so the thing that we were hoping for would give Bitcoin sort of the bull run to 100K through institutional money coming in, and this was mostly started by the Bitcoin futures that were started to trade, to be traded on the CBOE last year in December, has more or less backfired. So it is at the point here where we have to accept that the market dynamics of the cryptocurrency market are becoming much more alike, or much more the same as they are in the stock market. Okay, so the wild west is over with, and this you know, answers a question that I'm asked pretty frequently, and that is about ICOs, initial coin offerings. That was a fantastic way of you know, making 10,000 times return of investment last year, but it is no longer. And there are several reasons for this that I would like to reflect on here in this market reflection. One, of course, is that you know, 95%, and this rate, by the way, is the same in venture capital or IPOs, are not going to make it. Okay, not because there are scams necessarily, some of which are, and we've seen, you know, those here being weeded out in the beginning of the year, and there will always be sort of non-integrous companies or non-integrous ideas, you know, where they're just sort of trying to rough it to make a quick buck. We'll always see that, you know, that's in the nature of us humans, you know, to seek a shortcut. Okay, but with this overall higher conscious level of cryptocurrencies, these companies or these projects get weeded out faster. Okay, they cannot resonate on the level 193. That is, it is below truth, but it is still more integrous, if at all, based on pride and not so much on greed. So this was one of the reasons why we started to do these integrity ratings. We wanted to show those tokens or those companies that are clearly scams because it can be measured. All right, so but the reason why ICOs are just not this good way of income for the complete sort of uninformed retail investor or nobody like myself or like yourselves maybe, is because there's more caution now, and of course with the influx of institutional money, the whole process of selecting ICOs, you know, and where the money goes is much more professional now. So whereas last year, and this will continue to be the case, most of the ICOs were community driven. And the reason why I'm saying this will continue is because this is a way to create a really good foundation. And after all, in my observation, almost also a sign for a very integrous project or company, open source and you know, decentralized paradigms, you know, provide more truth, provide more transparency, and therefore we'll see that some of the really successful tokens or projects will also have a very strong community. But it is not the way it was last year where the community was driving the price, okay? We as an investor group, these grassroots people, these innovators, we just take up too small of the market capital ratio, okay? So there was a lot of talk about market manipulation here in the last months, and you know, I've said this all along, this is not manipulation, this is just the way these money markets work, okay? So if you have a lot of money and if you can make certain moves that at a total market cap of like $200 billion as it is roughly today, you know, a massive move, you know, of $500 million can influence the price. This will change, of course, when the overall cryptosphere has more matured, you know, into like a comparable size of the stock market, perhaps, or you know, even something that is now becoming more and more apparent as an alternative or hedging of the collapse of some fiat currencies. We're going to see trillions here, guys. Okay, and this is going to happen within the next 2-3 years. So, you know, this what we perceive as manipulation is nothing but, you know, the way things work. If you have more money, you can influence more. So, in other words, you know, the ownership of cryptocurrencies, which is still, you know, at the very beginning here, we're still at we haven't reached the early adopter stages, but those financial institutions that realize this, which is pretty much all of them, no matter how much FUD they spread last year, okay, this is clear now, you know, that all major banks and all big corporations and payment systems and so forth are preparing for blockchain based applications, or at least, you know, even if it's their own centralized version of it, then you must understand that, you know, that of course a bank or a country or a company will use their advantage. Okay, so I don't think it's really necessary to cry wolf every time the market price lowers or increases based on FUD, because after all, this is how you know, these markets work. They work based on sentiment, and this is why we try to come up with a rather unusual, admittedly, but a way to measure the market sentiment and how these unseen collective energies affect people's emotions, people's decision-making processes, and you know, how this could play out for the market itself. Another observation here, why you know, some of these wild west times are over, is that a lot of us have had so much negative feedback from friends and family and so forth, that it has almost become like a belief, like a fandom, okay, a fanatism almost. And this has scared a lot of people away, you know, because when you try to force things upon others, when you try to convince them and you go in there with all your force, you know, I've seen this with many other subjects in my life over the decades. All right, it scares people away. So just because it's your truth doesn't mean that everybody's ready for this truth. But you will see this changing here now, okay? So are ICOs dead? Definitely not, but you know, we need to have a more mature and more professional way of selecting them. And the market itself does that for us, and therefore we're just not going to see those huge amounts that were raised with ICOs last year. Another reason, of course, is also the regulation aspect that is coming in here through, you know, everybody waiting on the SEC, you know, to approve, okay, of cryptocurrencies, basically, and so that has led to increased guidelines, you know, as to how to release an ICO and so forth. It has made it difficult in certain countries to participate in ICOs. All this will calm down, and a lot of that is culminated in this ETF craze right now. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what ETFs are, it basically allows a person to trade, in this case, Bitcoin, without actually holding Bitcoin. So you can use this as part of your mutual funds or your retirement funds, you know, and you ask, you know, a bank or financial institution, you know, to invest into these ETFs for you, you know, that hold, you know, the paper basically on, you know, the cryptocurrency. And this is just another instrument here, another financial instrument that will make many, you know, cry that there's more manipulation. Obviously, it's the same with futures. You know, those are all financial game tools. All right, and so this hype about ETFs is not fully justified in my view, because it will more and more sort of normalize the cryptocurrency market. But in the long run, this is what we all want, okay? And in a year from now, you're not going to have to convince anybody of cryptocurrencies anymore, okay? But we need to refrain from making it sort of a religion, okay? Because that's something that makes us very susceptible to scams and to false enthusiasm, you know, naivete to a certain degree, okay? So I admit that I was caught in this enthusiasm myself by the end of last year, you know, just seeing sort of the future amount of money that is going to flow into the crypto market. And all this is still going to happen. It's just going to happen in a more sort of mature way. And that's, you know, good in my perspective. So we got to let go of, you know, that this is the biggest secret and that this is something special. You know, it really isn't that special anymore. But we're still so early in the game here that when you as a conscious investor, you know, can develop a good way of picking those tokens, those coins that you want to invest in for yourself and maybe for your children, you know, to see this as you know, this is a transformation process that is going on here that will change the world entirely. Not just the way you know, we transfer money, also the way information is going to be stored, information is going to be handled, goods are being delivered. entire accounting systems are going to change based on the Bitcoin white paper. And in the history of mankind, you know, the accounting system has always had a major influx on not just the economy, but also the entire developmental or evolutionary progress, because it brought in sort of an innovation that increased, say, maybe security, or increased trust, or increased speed. You know, there's some kind of benefit that is there that allows a system to evolve. And so the whole cryptosphere here has several new innovations, and there is probably a lot more to come that we can't even see yet. Okay, there's also, you know, 2 weeks ago we discussed the dangers of it. So I do want you to always pay attention. Okay, just because it's blockchain or just because it's crypto something doesn't mean that it's better. Okay, so there's also a lot of companies now that use the word crypto or blockchain or Bitcoin as a sort of a PR marketing type of thing, you know, just to pull in, you know, capital that they may have not been able to pull in, you know, without it. So the integrity testing that we do here, guys, has to do with, you know, seeing the intrinsic energy of a company or a project, not how well they perform on the market. But we do split we've divided the testing into 3 different values, namely 1, how well the token is going to do; 2, you know, or not as prediction, but as you know, integrity, like how well it resonates with the overall market, the conscious level of the team and the leadership involved, and the conscious level of the technology, the white paper, the project itself, to come up with a number that is sort of mixed here, you know, that gives us a good overview over the overall consciousness level of a token. So let's go into our first out of 5 tokens that we have. Nope, we have tested 6 tokens for you this week. 1 wallet/exchange and 1 crypto influencer. Okay, and this should be quite interesting. While I'm trying to pull up the first chart here onto the screen, I want to do a shout out at you guys that these tokens that we test are suggestions from you. So please keep suggesting tokens that you want us to test. You can also request influences to be tested, or publications. You can also ask for certain applications that are somehow crypto related to be tested. And for next week, I have a special request for you guys. This crypto calibration group here, all these fantastic energy workers that test the consciousness level of these projects, have requested to get a better feel for real scams. Okay, so we would love to hear from you, and please use the description in the edited video to let us know which shitcoins we should test. We want to have some good examples for absolute total scams or not. You know, we'll test this out, but let us know the worst token that you can think of, you know, shitcoins as many call them, all right? So that we can get a good feel for where those would be calibrating. Okay, we've had only a very few examples of those here in the past, so please let us know. And then there's another bounty, I want to say. It's not, we're not giving out a prize for this, but we're also looking for you know, the highest calibrating crypto project or crypto token. That's our treasure hunt here for you. So if you have a token that you think could be, you know, the next Amazon or the next Apple or the next Microsoft, or you know, but be careful with it though. You know, those are not necessarily the most integrous companies. And we'll do a comparative study here for you to put this into perspective. You know, like we're going to take some of the top 10 corporations in the world and test their integrity level, and it'll be surprising for you to see that they're not necessarily the most integrous ones. So, but we're looking for the most integrous ones. So if there is a project, company, whatever, that you think deserves to be tested just because their idea, their project, and the people that are involved in this are so good, okay, that, you know, they may not, you know, be that visible right now in the top 500 or whatever, but could be, you know, like really way showing and visionary for the next decade or so, then please let us know. All right, so let's get started here with our crypto integrity rating. We are looking for a value around the 200 mark on the map of consciousness developed by Dr. Hawkins. It's a numerical scale. We can see that truth calibrates at 200, and we have you know, certain things that we've put together here for you that give you an idea of when somebody or when a company calibrates below 200, what this means. So anything below 200 basically means old paradigm. Everything above means that it's aligned to the new paradigm, you know, that it resonates with those higher vibratory collective shifts that we are observing. You know, anything around 190, you know, is very much similar to, you know, the banking system, the current economy. You know, the fiat system is calibrates a little lower than that. But when it gets anywhere below 185, guys, that's when you have to start paying attention. You know, because that's there's energies in play. You know, some would say dark energies, but I don't really like to call them dark because they're just low in frequency. So it can make people do dark things or have darker ideas, but it's not really, you know, that the company is dark. Anything below 175 is clearly based on greed. Caution is needed, and anything below 150, I don't think we had anything that is below 150, so that's why we're calling out to you guys for the shitcoins is clearly a scam. Okay, so let's go back to our first token here that we've tested for you this week based on your request, TRON. Okay, so TRON is a blockchain-based network. It's an operating system, and it has been developed, you know, as a partnership from many other, primarily Asian, probably Chinese corporations, and you know, it's supposed to basically provide a platform such as Etherium for applications. But also for smart contracts. And, you know, what we've been seeing here with these companies that more or less copy something that is already existing, you know, is that, and that there's no judgment intended. And we saw this here with TRON. You know, there's sort of like a Me Too a kind of feel to it, even though they can offer something better, namely more speed. So this is what they can prove. And there are some cool DApps on the TRON network, you know, that that I can recommend to you guys, such as Gifto, for instance. That's also a token that we can test. And Decentraland, you know, there are some cool things that are developing for TRON here. And it doesn't always, you know, you don't always have to be the best you know, the one with, you know, sort of the best technology, you know, to make the race. So I do want to be careful here with you interpreting these relatively low numbers as a bad judgment. I wouldn't say so. It's you know, those are good apps that are coming. The technology from an energetic standpoint is not really convincing, but you know, the people involved with 189, you know, that is, you know, it's just okay. Okay, so they're trying. Okay, they're trying, and when you have you know, 190 and higher here for a team and leadership, you can expect them to want to improve it. Okay, to really be interested to improve it. 192 for the token means, you know, it's going to do all right, but it's not going to do as well as the average in the cryptocurrency market, which calibrates at 193. The technology with 186 a bit low, you know, so we got to be, you know, cautious here. However, there's a good marketing power behind this. So with the overall conscious level of 189, TRON did disappoint us a little bit, but that doesn't mean, you know, that they can't make it, okay, or that they won't make it. I'm pretty sure they will, actually. There was some cool data overlay, because not everybody just does the muscle testing. We also have people who use remote viewing with it. We have psychics that, you know, get other input and energy code work. So we get, you know, a lot of different kinds of information. And so I'm just trying to translate this for you. So TRON is okay, but just okay. All right, no judgment intended. The next is a project here called SHARDER. Was recommended by one of you for us to test. So what is SHARDER? SHARDER is a protocol. Okay, this is probably not necessarily a company that you will see a lot or hear a lot about unless you are in the IT field, unless you are a developer. It's a cross-chain protocol that allows offline data storage, that allows data storage. So it's specialized, you know, on dealing with data, and other protocols or other companies or other networks and platforms can integrate this protocol. Okay, the technology here with 197 calibrates almost at 200. That's really good to see. It's really high tech, you know, a really well thought through protocol, and the people behind it with 191, you know, are really interested in improving, you know, the technology. But the token, you know, with 190 is just, you know, it's not fully congruent here. Okay, so you have really good tech, and what happens with those kind of things, I've seen this a lot in the past, is that they often don't have the marketing power, don't have the right PR, because it's too technical. So as a token, even though the token itself provides part of the use case, part of the utility here, it may not do as well, but it may get a lot of praise for its technology. Okay, so you see, when you look at things from these different perspectives, you get a pretty diversified picture here of what you're looking at. So again, here, those are not token ratings based on technical analysis or the pictures of the people and the names. This is intrinsic energy testing that we do here. Next up is CHAINLINK. So CHAINLINK with 199 is really cool, you know, sort of resonating with truth, with integrity. With 194 for the team, also relatively high, and the technology even higher. You know, the project, the white paper itself calibrates at 201. Okay, guys, this is integrous, this is truth-based. Okay, what does Chainlink offer? It's a network. It's a network for secure and tamper-proof cross-system connection. So it can be used, say, for a company's own intranet, as I used to call this in the old days, or their own payment systems to be connected to blockchain-based payment systems or data storage or environment. So it offers a smart contract language, so to speak, a platform for that, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, and it's trustworthy. So all thumbs up here for Chainlink. It really convinced us. Yes, and I'm looking at your comments here for the first time. I'm actually seeing them. We are live, yes, and you can ask questions or make requests here right now. Omni, you are requesting waves with pleasure. Waves is already on our list. And, with TRON and the hope, like I've said, I think the applications based on TRON, they're going to be successful, okay? It's just that TRON itself may not, have that power. Remember I just talked about how the market is becoming a little more mature, and so, it's going away from this sort of hype, around certain tokens and certain coins. Everything has to move into application, into us actually being able to use it. If there's just an onslaught of great technology, is never ever going to do anything for us until we actually have use cases for it. And I see some really cool use cases that can be developed with TRON. So it's not negative. That's why I emphasized that there was no judgment intended with it. Okay, thanks for commenting. It's very cool to have you here. Okay, so next up, our token number 4 is VECHAIN. Okay, so you see we have sort of grouped together tokens today that have a lot to do with infrastructure, providing platforms and networks. So VECHAIN, and it's so much fun to report when companies leave a really positive imprint on us testers. Okay, so VECHAIN is one of them. VECHAIN is in itself a foundation, okay, and so there's a bunch of big names, a bunch of big companies that has agreed to producing a platform for well, it's called crypto supply chain platform, but really what it means is to develop a tool to trace products, not just products, could be virtual items as well, and it's like like how they have a VIN number here in the United States for every car, and Car Vertical is offering something like that for the automotive industry, but also like maybe your social security number for products that can allow the consumer to trace back the ingredients, to trace the quality, to trace the individual components that are involved in the supply chain. And it's a really cool project with 202, this calibrates above truth, so it's integrous and it's truth-based. And it's a really cool idea. And it's actually one of those really classical disruptor tools that we all wanted to see here succeed in the crypto sphere, all right? Because it allows to basically innovate or disrupt, depending on what side of the fence you're on, you know, the classic or the traditional systems. And there are a lot of flaws and there are a lot of issues with the traditional systems. So to have something like a product tracker, you know, where was this produced, what are the ingredients and so forth, can be really cool for us consumers. I see great application here. So the token itself calibrates at 199. The people behind it at 199, guys, that's high quality. Okay, for looking at all the companies that are involved in this partnership, you know, that's a really high value for the people involved in this foundation. Okay, and so we have a total of 200 here, which puts VeChain into, you know, the higher vibratory tokens altogether. Up there with Bitcoin. Okay. Yes, that's right. And Omni, we also test mining pools, if this is interesting to you, okay, or even investment pools. You know, those are things that you can request to be tested as well. Our next, second to last coin that or token that we've tested for you is VERGE. So VERGE is a privacy coin. There you go. So a currency that allows transactions, but without revealing, you know, all the data that comes along with it, such as a Bitcoin, for instance, you know, that uses an open source and an open scannable ledger system on the blockchain itself. Okay, so VERGE is a privacy coin, and those of you who are not really sure what an integrous use of privacy coins could be, don't think that this is all just for drug dealers and weapons traders. No, you know, there are a lot of applications, even if you think of your own life, where it's appropriate to have privacy, where you don't necessarily want the world, because that's basically what blockchain enables, to see the amounts, or, you know, where you transferred something to. So, you know, there is a place for privacy coins, guys. Don't think that this is non-integrous just because it bypasses some of these decentralized and open source paradigms. Okay. The token itself calibrates at 197. That's a pretty good value. It has a good protocol with 199. It's pretty much, you know, on the truth, you know, resonating with truth. And I think actually VERGE is a really good choice for a privacy coin, for privacy or private transactions. So we're going to see 1 or 2 or 3 of these privacy coins prevail, and I think VERGE is going to be one of them, probably along with Monero. We haven't tested Monero yet, so that we can compare privacy coins with another. They'll have their place in the blockchain or in the crypto sphere here. So don't be too judgmental just because you know, it's all supposed to be open. No, you know, there are some things that are not good if they're open. Okay, so or visible for everybody. The last coin that we've tested for you is NEXO. Very cool. We have tested Salt here in the past, Salt Lending, which is very similar. So it's a lending platform or a loan platform where you can use your crypto holdings, you know, to get a loan, you know, to get credit. And it's backed by Credissimo, I think, you know, a banking system. And they have a lot more corporations that are coming in here. NEXO looks like a really good option. So with 197 as the token, it will do all right. It will do slightly better than the average in the cryptosphere. The people involved with 198, that's pretty high, guys. And technology 199 comes to a total of 98. I think that's deserves a thumbs up for a blockchain-based, a crypto-based lending platform. Okay, where you can use your cryptocurrencies as collateral. All right. Just for you as a comparison here with salt. Salt was tested twice by us. They had a shift in leadership, so we did a retest, but came to the same overall result, namely 199. So in comparison here to NEXO, we see there's slight differences. Okay, so what are the differences here? Let me try to pull this up together. Okay, so you can see that you know, the token will probably do roughly the same because it's really the same application. And Salt has not been doing that well since its ICO, you know, mostly because the enthusiasm in the crypto market and the market cap has gone down. But as this will rise, they will have a really cool place in the market along with NEXO. So I see these two guys, you know, placed really well. The big difference, or you know, where you can see a difference here is just sort of in the technology. Maybe, you know, it's minute, the variance. Okay, so I wouldn't get too hung up on it. You guys know that I am a Salt fan. I have Salt in my 2018 portfolio that I published at the end of the year. So, you know, I'm still gonna, if I have the choice between the two, gonna opt for Salt, but that's purely for sentimental reasons. Okay, based on the consciousness level that it's displayed here, both are pretty equal there. Okay, so we're gonna have to see which one is easier to use, less susceptible to ups and downs, and so forth. So Salt does have a future, yes, definitely. We retested it. So even after the leadership shift that was going on, where there was a bit of confusion there, they've got this all sorted out. So I wouldn't be too negative. The reason why these lending platforms are not, you know, really in everybody's mouth right now is because, first of all, you know, the people like us, you know, who would be perhaps in need of a loan, you know, we would never do this in a bearish market because we won't ever be able to pay it back. Okay, so the enthusiasm needs to come back into the market altogether, so that you know, there's more incentive and also more motivation, you know, to invest more, okay, to trade more. So next up is a wallet called Opera. You know, we weren't really sure. I wasn't really sure if we should test it as an exchange, as a wallet, as a browser. So Opera is actually a browser. It's the world's first browser with a built-in crypto wallet. And, you know, it's looking really good. It's very solid. It's totally old paradigm, okay? It calibrates 199 congruently here as far, you know, as the function is concerned and the organization. It's an old paradigm organization. The only thing I see here, if I got the info right, it's backed by Bitmain, which is one of the largest mining pools. Bitmain has gotten a little negative PR here in the last month, you know, and for the conscious investor, something that needs to be paid very close attention to. They have a very high market dominance. Actually, this reminds me, we should test Bitmain for next week. Opera is very easy to use. It has a social media feel to it. It has this like sort of or Coinbase feel, you know. It's just really easy to use, and it will be highly adaptable, I think. It's not integrous with 191, but no less integrous than a bank. Okay, so overall it has a mainstream quality for me, even though I'm not convinced here as far as like the consciousness level is concerned. Okay, cool, Omni. That's cool to hear that you are using Opera because it has a VPN in it. Okay, so I guess, you know, Opera I don't think is that popular as a browser here in the United States or in the Western world. But that's a really cool tip. I didn't know this. Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing this. And last but not least is our influencer testing. And I don't want you guys to get all riled up, you know, about us testing the conscious level of people. Okay, so please take this with, you know, wisdom and, you know, integrity for yourself. This is no judgment of a person. Okay, so the crypto influencer that we were asked to test this week was POLK. And POLK is a podcaster, a very famous YouTuber, has a great followership, but is actually much more famous for being a professional poker player. So one of the cool things about POLK, who produces and very well produced podcasts, interviews with other crypto influencers and developers and so forth. It has a very entertaining style, has a very refreshing way of seeing things. He's not a developer. He's not like a, you know, sort of a big shot in the market. You know, he's like you and I, and he reports about cryptocurrencies almost with a common sense type of attitude, and I love that about POLK. So I'm a regular viewer of his podcast, and I was so relieved when the testing was done that yes, he does calibrate over 200. So you know, it is integrous, and the information coming from him is integrous. It's truth-based. Now, as true as it can be from his perspective, but it's integrous, meaning that he does really care about the community, and he really does want to provide the best information he can. Okay, so what I particularly like about him is that he always tries to bring in neutrality, which is a really cool trait nowadays because, you know, of this sort of fanatism and religious connotation that I mentioned earlier. So it's very refreshing. Thank you, POLK, for being such a great influencer. Yes, you got the trustworthy stamp now from us. Not that that means anything to you. Our followership is minute compared to yours, but I'm very, very happy to see this. And, you know, I can also see how you, you know, as a, you know, sort of, you're 30 now, I think, right? You are a role model for a lot of these young males out there, okay? So as such, you know, a lot of the things that you relay here and in the way you do this is way showing. So I like that. Thank you for doing that. Okay. All right, guys. Yes, and this is concluding the crypto spiritual update here for week 36. I hope you got some new perspectives, new inspirations, maybe to think about things in a different way. I hope you liked the information. Come back next week. We have a Facebook group where all these crypto integrity ratings are listed in a comparative way, where you can look up you know, all the ratings that we've done in the past. So go to Facebook, Crypto Spiritual, and become a member in this group. We also offer trainings on how to do these kind of integrity testings. And last but not least, of course, you know, in my function as founder and CEO of transCODES, you know, we offer all kinds of services that are related to energy healing and energy coaching and testing, you know, simple things such as helping people to find the right company that they want to work for, to see, you know, the vibrational match, all based on the integrity ratings, but also helping people to improve their presentation, or, you know, how they can, you know, in their career become more successful by becoming more authentic, becoming more congruent. So you'll find all the links here in the video. Oh, I forgot to mention the crypto memes here, the crypto energy memes for this next week are going to be FUD and FOMO. Okay, so FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So we're going to see ups and downs in this anticipation of ETFs by the end of September. So yes, some of it is already priced in, but trust me, every time the price goes up and then it suddenly goes down and people sell, this is basically when we drive, you know, the Bitcoin and the altcoins into the institution's hands, you know, so remember that. Okay, so hodling does pay off, you know, even if it's just for the good of the whole system. However, FOMO, fear of missing out, don't fall for it. It's all, you know, going to go its way in the pace that it needs to take. You don't have to be part of every up and down, especially if you're not a trader, if you're just an investor, you know, that you know, has a hodl list or wants to create a portfolio for their mom or their children, you know, for in 10 years or 20 years down the road, which I think, by the way, is a really cool idea. And then, you know, just don't get pulled into these ups and downs, into the volatility. Okay, the bigger issue here is going to be the real estate and the stock market here within the next month. So pay attention to that, and some of these national currencies that are crumbling, such as in Venezuela and Turkey. Those are things you need to pay attention to. All right. Yes, and as always, I hope to see you next week. Make good choices here. Thank you. Bye-bye.